Would you like to be worth £150 million?
Well, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that price tag.
Is there? When you went to Spurs, how much was that?
16 pressure, 24 Villa. But because I'd gone to Spurs for 16, when I then went to Villa for 24, it was like nothing.
Well, when you went for 24, there'll be kids listening and think 24 is just like, changing your pocket.
Mad. When I went to Charlton for 2.5 million, that was pressure.
Okay, but what was the type of fee then? For big money moves?
Just like, I think it was just normal then. You obviously get a few big hitters, but 2.5 million, I remember.
What was the pressure that you felt then? Because it's not your money, right?
Because I'm stepping out of the Championship to the Premier League. Like, Alan Kirbishley identified me as the player out of the Championship that can make a difference in the Premier League, a step up for Charlton to be their main centre forward. Mm-hmm. And 2.5 million, when you start hearing millions banded, you think, oh, wow.
But did it ever bother you?
And when I went to Spurs for 16, it bothered me, affected me.
Did it?
Yeah, like it was a tough time. That 2 years at Spurs was tough.
Yeah, I know, but was it because of the price tag attached to you?
A lot of it, the first season, because I didn't really play. I was behind Berbatov, Keane, Defoe. They got three, legends of the game, strikers.
When you signed for Spurs and they were there, did you not go, hold on a minute, why am I coming here with
No,
those?
because I wanted to challenge myself. Give it a go. I mean, 3 of them left at the end of my first season.
Oh, okay.
Second season, I was the top goal scorer at Spurs.
How many did you get?
I got 17, I think. In
How
total.
many times did you get 20 league goals?
I think only league a couple of times, I think.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's quite impressive.
So it was one of them where...
You must have got chosen for a World Cup or European
Anyway, shut up. It was one of them where, because it was such a tough time at Spurs because of the price tag, when I then went to Sunderland and then Villa came with the big money, I was just like, well, you know what? It is what it is. Like, I can't affect the price tag. Let me just go out there and try and do exactly what I could do, score goals, be effective, and we'll see what happens.
Do you think the fans cared how much Spurs spent, how much Villa spent?
I know for a fact, I heard the rumbles before they spent the money, saying it was a waste of money, why are we buying a striker, we don't need a striker. I heard all this ramblings before I signed. But what in my head was, get to Spurs, try and prove these people wrong, do well, score goals, try and get in front of them, make yourself a better player.
So at the moment, £1.5 billion has been spent in this transfer window. That's on 135 players. 14 of those are over 30 million, which is ironic when we're just talking about how much you went to Aston Villa for. Was it 24 and a half?
Yeah.
Okay, which is just
And people
ridiculous.
said that was a waste of money after they've just scored 25 the year before.
Why do they say that?
But you know what it's like. It's people because you think 25 million back then. That's like.
Was that a lot? What year are we going back to?
I went in 2011.
All right, so 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, was that a lot of money then? 24 million?
Well, a lot of people spoke about it, but it didn't really faze me.
At the moment, Chelsea have spent around about 180 million, Forest 133, United 128, West Ham 125, Newcastle 122, Arsenal 120, City 110. All the big hitters, Spurs, also over 100 million as well. When football fans see players coming into the club, like my club, for argument's sake, Casemiro's come in. We're being linked heavily to Anthony as well. They're talking about £80 million, give or take. Do you think footballers look at the player, look at the price tag nowadays and think, what a waste of money? Or from my perspective as a United fan, I'm like, we need to strengthen. I'm not the accountant. I just need players coming in, right? So it doesn't really bother me. If a player comes into the club, let's say for argument's sake, Harry Maguire, £80 million, and it doesn't work, right? Eventually, it might not be Harry Maguire. Eventually, that player will be dropped, like Maguire. And if it still doesn't work, that player will be sold.
Yeah.
Right? Because the club aren't out to make a loss.
Yeah, but you're never going to get that. Of course, that 80 million.
Of course you're not.
But I guess
sorry. My question is, Benny. So, do you think football fans really care how much they're spending, or do they just want players coming into the club?
No, I think they do care. A lot of them. Yeah, you want the best players coming in, but also you don't want it to affect what happens going forward. So you don't want to eat a massive chunk of your budget this summer, and then next season there's nothing to spend if you've had a struggling season. So. You look at some of the signings that have been made. Gabriel Jesus, 46 million, has made Arsenal better. Zinchenko, 31. Then you've got people like Marc Correa, who's a good player, but he's like nearly 60 odd.
Mad.
Like 60 odd for that.
Mad. Do you think that's mad, by the way?
Yeah.
Do you think Chelsea fans think that's mad?
Potentially. Even Onana, who's gone to Everton. Like, obviously, supposed to be a hot prospect coming up. They still spent 32.4 million on him. Like, it's a lot. Like, Darwin Núñez, 67.5 after his season at Benfica. Like, transfer fees nowadays are just bonkers. Like, there's no point you trying to understand it. Alexander Isak. You talk about a guy who scored 6 league goals last season. 6.
Well, you talk about Gordon going to Chelsea.
Potential. 60 million on potential.
But he didn't score one. Every goal he scored was deflected, right?
I mean, it's still a goal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course it is. But, and he's only played, I don't want to have a pop at the kid, he's only a young boy, but he's only played, 45, 46 games as well?
Honestly, 60 million. But
that's not his fault, by the way. If you put and attach a stupid price tag to something, there's nothing to do with the player.
Talk about 60 million for, like, he could be going for more than Gabriel Jesus. Like, that's when it's bonkers. But that's where if you start looking in detail at some of these transfers, you just send yourself insane. Trying to figure out, the only way I can kind of figure out is that, say Cucurella, for instance, he was worth 60 million to Brighton. So that's why they've had to pay that money.
Of course, yeah, I get that.
Jack Grealish, 100 million. If you look at Jack Grealish, 100 million, you might go, well, 100 million, really? But that's how much he was worth to Aston Villa to lose him. Yeah. So from that, it makes sense.
Yes, that's right.
You
are right.
But it's still a bit of a mad one when you go, some of the prices are just ridiculous.
Well, okay, bearing in mind that some of the money that's being thrown about is actually completely and utterly bonkers, right? Do you think a percentage, for argument's sake, 1%, should go to football lower down the scale? Maybe grassroots. So if you took 1% of the 1.5 billion, you're talking 15 million pounds. And the way that would work would be the receiving club that are getting the money, right? So in this case, Brighton, they would have to give 1% of that transfer to grassroots football.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
Do you think that's something that should be looked at?
I think anything to help grassroots football, because it's so important in this country, grassroots, because it's the founding fathers, isn't it? It's the start of everything. But it's whether clubs will agree to do that, because if they're obviously receiving a massive transfer fee for one of their players, they're probably going to want to use that to invest back into their squad. To give money away to something that really doesn't affect them, unfortunately, it sounds quite selfish, but a lot of these football clubs probably would do that. We're thinking,
I know, but if you're getting 60 million, that's 600 grand.
I get that, but
it's not a lot, is it?
It's not a lot of money, but at the same time, they might be looking at a player that's, do you know what I mean, that eats up all their transfer budget. They need to find a way of filtering money down 100% to grassroots, as I said, because it's important. But is in a transfer the right way to do it? I'm not sure. Okay,
what about agents' fees? Now, you and I were having this chat earlier on. This is absolutely bonkers. So the way it works in my industry, right, which is, television and radio, etc. If I do a new contract with talkSPORT, my agent gets involved. I give a percentage of whatever to my agent. talkSPORT don't pay my agent. In your world, in the football world, the football club that you're going to pay your agent. You don't pay your agent anything.
No.
Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
You do think that's right?
Yeah.
So you don't pay your agent any fee whatsoever?
I don't think so. I think it's a percentage of if they get you something. That was always the way. Like if they got you a
So when you sign for Spurs...
If you get a deal or you get something outside of football, say it's like some kind of sponsorship deal or you get an appearance somewhere, then yes, they'll take a fee off of that.
But when you sign for Spurs, the club pay the agent for that deal to happen, for the negotiations.
Yeah.
And you don't, literally, your agent, done deal, and you go, thanks. That's it.
Finitoed.
That's nuts, isn't it?
Nuts. But then when you look at some of the super agents that are getting crazy fees, you think
like 15 million for
a player's never going to pay that.
No. Do you think all the clubs should get together? This would need to happen worldwide, not just in this country, and just say, we're not going to pay the agent fees anymore, the players should pay them.
They could do that, but then there's the death of the agent. Because then you're going to start seeing a lot of players go, well, I don't need that, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
So then
why is the club paying £15 million for
extinct
a deal to happen?
Don't know.
Loads of agents listening to this going, Goldstein, shut up, please.
Probably. But I just think, but if you start turning the agent fees onto the players and making them pay it, of course, then players will just go, well, you know what? I'll just get my brothers to do it. Harry Kane, instance, his brother. Yeah. Or you'll get someone, I think Nicolas Anelka, his brother used to do all his deals. Yeah. So you just keep all the money in-house. I just think that you just get a lot of players and they will go, well, you know what? I'll just do it myself.
We're talking about the amount of money involved in in transfers. So do you think any money should go to grassroots? I think 1%. Even if it's 0.5%, it's something.